he swept the floors of a school he once dreamed of studying in. But little did the world know, one day, he would rise to lead it. This is the inspiring journey of a janitor who became the principal. Every great success story begins with a struggle. This is the story of David Carter, a man who started at the bottom but never gave up on his dream. He was a janitor in this very school, sweeping floors, cleaning classrooms, and watching students learn. But deep inside, he carried a dream that one day, he would stand not as a janitor but as the principal of this school. David had always loved learning, but life had been tough. Coming from a poor family, he never had the chance to complete his education. To support his family, he took a job as a janitor at the very school where he once dreamed of studying. Yet, deep down, he never let go of his passion for education. David is shown quietly reading books during his lunch break, using old notebooks to take notes. Teachers and students often ignore him, but he remains focused. A kind teacher, Mrs. Roberts, notices David reading and encourages him to take night classes. "David, you have a sharp mind. Why don't you continue your studies? It's never too late." David hesitates but finally agrees, enrolling in night school while working during the day. Scenes show David working hard, cleaning during the day, studying at night, and barely sleeping. He faces mockery from some students and discouragement from others. A janitor trying to be a teacher? That's hilarious. David faced laughter, doubt, and exhaustion. But he kept going. Every night, he studied under a dim light, determined to change his destiny. He knew knowledge was the only way out of his struggles. Years pass. David completes his education and earns a degree. He applies for a teaching position at the same school. David enters the school, now as a teacher. The same halls where he once mopped the floors now welcome him as an educator. Some teachers still doubt him, but students respect his journey. David proved everyone wrong. He became a teacher, guiding the same students who once overlooked him. His story inspired many, but his journey was far from over. Over the years, David becomes one of the most respected teachers. His dedication, discipline, and love for education earn him recognition. Soon, the school principal retires, and the school board looks for a successor. Against all odds, they choose David. David walks into his new office, the principal's office. He looks around, remembering his first day as a janitor. His eyes fill with tears of gratitude. And then, the day came. The man who once mopped these floors now led the school. David Carter, the janitor turned principal, proved that no dream is too big and no position too small. All it takes is determination, hard work, and the courage to believe in oneself. David addresses students in the school assembly. Success is not about where you start. It's about where you decide to go. If I can do it, so can you. The students erupt in applause, inspired by his journey. Dreams don't come true overnight. They require sacrifice, patience, and resilience. David's story is proof that with hard work, anything is possible. So, never stop dreaming, never stop believing, because the future belongs to those who refuse to give up. Every great success story begins with a struggle. This is the story of David Carter, a man who started at the bottom but never gave up on his dream. He was a janitor in this very school, sweeping floors, cleaning classrooms, and watching students learn. But deep inside, he carried a dream that one day, he would stand not as a janitor but as the principal of this school. David had always loved learning, but life had been tough. Born into a poor family, he never had the luxury of a proper education. His father was a factory worker, and his mother worked as a maid. They struggled to put food on the table, let alone send their children to school. David was a bright student, but when his father fell ill, he had no choice but to drop out and start working to support his family. At the age of 17, David found a job as a janitor at the local school, the same school where he had once been a student. Every morning, before the first bell rang, he would mop the floors, dust the desks, and empty the trash bins. During recess, he would wipe the cafeteria tables while listening to students discuss their lessons. He wanted to be in their place, sitting in a classroom, learning, growing. But instead, he was on the sidelines, watching from a distance. Despite his situation, David never let go of his love for books. Every time he found an old textbook in the trash, he would take it home and read it at night. He would sit under the dim light of a street lamp, flipping through pages, teaching himself what he had missed in school. One day, while cleaning a classroom, David noticed a math book left open on a desk. He couldn't resist solving a few equations. As he worked through the problems, he was so engrossed that he didn't notice Mrs. Roberts, a senior teacher, standing at the door watching him. "David, you have a sharp mind," she said, walking in. "Why don't you continue your studies? It's never too late." David hesitated. "I don't have the money for school, and I have to work to support my family." Mrs. Roberts smiled. "There's a night school program. It's affordable, and you can study after work. I believe in you." That night, David made a decision that would change his life. He enrolled in night school. His days became exhausting, cleaning the school from morning till afternoon, attending classes in the evening, and studying late into the night. Sleep was a luxury he could no longer afford. As the years passed, David's determination only grew stronger. He faced humiliation from some students who mocked him. "A janitor trying to be a teacher? That's hilarious," one of them sneered. But David never responded to their taunts. He let his hard work do the talking. After 5 years of relentless effort, he finally earned his high school diploma. Then, he took another leap. He enrolled in college. Juggling work and studies was not easy, but he pushed forward. He pursued a degree in education, determined to return to the school, not as a janitor, but as a teacher. The day David received his teaching degree, he felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. He applied for a teaching position at the same school where he had worked as a janitor for over a decade. Some members of the school board were skeptical. "A janitor becoming a teacher? Are you sure about this?" one of them questioned. But Mrs. Roberts, who had been following David's journey, spoke up. "He has earned it. Give him a chance." And they did. On his first day as a teacher, David walked into the classroom, the same halls where he once mopped the floors. The students who had once ignored him now looked up to him with admiration. His journey had inspired them. He became one of the most dedicated teachers in the school, going the extra mile to help struggling students. Years passed, and David's reputation as a passionate and caring educator grew. He was no longer just a teacher, he was a mentor, a guide, and an inspiration. The students loved him, the staff respected him, and the school flourished under his dedication. Then, one day, the principal announced his retirement. The school board began searching for a replacement. Many names were considered, but one name stood out: David Carter. The day David was appointed as the new principal, he stood in his office, looking around in disbelief. The same office where he had once been called in to clean, the same desk he had once dusted, now belonged to him. Tears welled up in his eyes. At the next school assembly, he addressed the students. "Success is not about where you start. It's about where you decide to go. I was once a janitor in this school, cleaning these very floors. But I had a dream, and I never gave up. If I can do it, so can you." The auditorium erupted in applause. David's journey from janitor to principal became a legend in the town. Students who once doubted themselves now believed in the power of persistence. He proved that dreams don't come true overnight, they require sacrifice, patience, and relentless effort. And so, the man who once cleaned classrooms became the leader who shaped the future of thousands of students. Because in the end, it's not about where you start, it's about how far you're willing to go.